Welcome back to the horror story channel Darkness in the Night. Today, we're introducing a chilling tale titled The Curse of the Pine Forest. Before we begin, if you find this story intriguing, please give me a like and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for listening. Now, let's get started. Nam, a 30-year-old man, was living a repetitive, monotonous life in Saigon. Every day, he spent 8 hours in front of a computer screen, typing lines of soulless code. Every night, he buried himself in Netflix movies, trying to escape the loneliness. His small rented room was always filled with the glow of his monitor and an old TV, as if that light could drown out the heavy silence in his heart. Life drifted by in this dull routine until the April 30th holiday arrived. Unwilling to endure traffic jams and overcrowded tourist spots, Nam decided to head to Dalat, searching for a quiet place to enjoy a rare moment of peace. He rented a small room at a homestay on a hill, far from the city center. The room he chose was at the end of the row, with a small balcony overlooking a vast pine forest. Every morning, he woke to birds chirping and the crisp, cool air brushing against his face. On the first day, he wandered around Tuyen Lam Lake, letting the cool air soak into his skin. Basking in the gentle sunlight of late afternoon, he snapped a few photos, not to post online, but to keep as reminders of moments when he actually felt alive. He didn't rush, he simply strolled slowly, listening to the crunch of dry leaves beneath his feet. This feeling was worlds apart from the noisy chaos of Saigon, where he had spent nearly a decade. On the second day, a sudden rainstorm swept in. Dalat's rains often arrived like uninvited guests, quick and unexpected. Raindrops streaked across the window pane, leaving misty trails. Nam sat by the window, watching the drops race down the glass, when a wave of melancholy washed over him. The feeling wasn't unfamiliar, it always came during moments of solitude. When he wondered what meaning his life truly had, he felt as though he was merely existing, not truly living. To shake off the heaviness, he decided to take a walk into the pine forest near the homestay. He followed a small trail, each step crunching through fallen leaves. The rain had stopped, but the air was still damp. The fresh pine scent filled his lungs, bringing him a strange sense of calm. The deeper he went, the quieter the forest became. Towering pine trees stretched endlessly skyward, forming a scene both majestic and mysterious. Beams of sunlight filtered through the canopy, painting pale golden streaks across the forest floor. Nam lost track of time. He just kept walking, until dusk began to fall. Only then did he realize he had gone too far, and he no longer knew the way back. The familiar trails had vanished, replaced by narrow paths hidden behind thick brush. A creeping unease stirred inside him. He pulled out his phone, but there was no signal. Looking around, all he saw were endless, identical pine trees. A chilling stillness wrapped around him, pressing down like an invisible weight. He tried to find a way out, but every path only led him back to where he started. Darkness slowly settled in, and fear began to consume his mind. From behind, he heard strange sounds, branches snapping, leaves rustling. He turned around, but saw nothing, only an eerie, suffocating silence. Nam decided to keep moving forward, hoping to find a main road. He walked while calling out loudly, but only echoes came back from the hills. The further he went, the stronger the feeling grew, that someone was following him. Suddenly, he heard a faint giggle, so soft, so light, like that of a child. The laughter came from behind him, then vanished. Nam spun around, heart pounding in his chest. All he saw was the darkness swallowing everything whole. His hands trembled as he gripped his phone tightly. He didn't know if the laughter was real or just a trick of his terrified mind. Panicking, he broke into a run, branches whipping across his face and arms. He kept running until he saw a faint light ahead. It was a small house, with warm light spilling out from its window. Relief washed over him, like he had found a lifeline. He rushed toward the house, desperate for help. As he drew near, Nam realized it was an old wooden cabin. The door stood ajar, a dim glow flickering from inside. He knocked, but there was no response. Hesitantly, he pushed the door open and stepped in. Inside, a lone oil lamp flickered weakly on a table, casting light on the bare, dusty room with just a few worn-out items. He called out, "Hello? Is anyone here?" No answer. Nam stood frozen for a moment, a sudden chill crawling up his spine. The air carried a faint, unpleasant scent, like wildflowers rotting after heavy rain. Then, from upstairs, he heard footsteps, slow, dragging, as if someone was pulling something heavy across the floor. Startled, he looked up toward the pitch-black staircase. The footsteps continued above him, heavy and deliberate. Nam stood rigid, his heart hammering against his ribs. He called again, his voice trembling. Is someone up there?" The footsteps stopped. The sudden silence was worse than the sound itself. His skin prickled as if unseen eyes were fixed on him from above. He thought about running, but his legs refused to move, as though nailed to the floor. The oil lamp flickered wildly, throwing distorted shadows across the walls, twisting the room into something sinister. After a tense moment, the footsteps resumed, slower this time, but clearer, each creak of the wooden floorboards echoing louder. Closer. Whoever was up there was coming down. Nam backed up, hand gripping the doorknob, eyes locked on the staircase. Finally, a tall figure emerged at the top of the stairs. It was a woman. She wore an old, faded coat, her hair neatly tied in a bun. Her face was gaunt, pale, almost lifeless, her eyes fixed on Nam, devoid of emotion, as she descended step by step, never once looking down at her feet. Nam swallowed hard, forcing himself to stay calm. His voice shook as he spoke. I'm so sorry for entering without permission. I got lost in the forest. And it's already dark outside." The woman didn't answer. She kept walking down, step by step. Nam could now see her face more clearly. Her eyes were hollow, and a faint, unsettling smile curled on her lips, sending a shiver through him. "Ma'am, could I stay here for just one night? I'll leave first thing in the morning." The old woman stopped at the final step, staring straight into Nam's eyes. She didn't speak. Instead, she slowly raised her hand, her bony, elongated finger pointing toward a corner of the room. Nam followed the direction of her gesture and saw an old wooden chair pressed against the wall. "You mean, you want me to sit there?" She stayed frozen in place, silent, without a single word. A cold chill ran down Nam's spine. He cautiously walked over to the chair and sat down. The woman turned away, moving toward the kitchen. Nam watched as she poured a cup of water, set it on the table, and then quietly made her way back up the staircase. Her footsteps grew softer and softer until they faded completely. Nam sat alone in the dim house, the uneasy feeling never leaving him. He glanced at the cup of water on the table, then at the window. Outside, the forest was swallowed by darkness. Hunger gnawed at him, and the cold seeped into his bones. He began to wonder if the old woman was even real. Her silence, her blank expression, they frightened him more than any ghost could. He pulled out his phone, hoping for a signal, but the screen showed nothing. With a heavy sigh, he leaned back in the chair. The window rattled slightly, as though a breeze had slipped through. Nam glanced outside but saw nothing, only shadows and endless trees. Closing his eyes, he tried to drift into sleep, praying he would wake up from this nightmare. But as soon as his eyes shut, he heard it again, the giggling. This time, clearer, closer, like a child playing right outside the window. Nam's eyes flew open. The laughter was coming from just beyond the glass. Slowly, he stood up and crept toward the window, pulling the curtain aside. Nothing, just darkness and rows of trees. But when he turned back, his blood froze. At the far end of the room stood a small, shadowy figure, a child. Its back was facing him, completely still, not moving an inch. The dark figure remained motionless, its back turned toward Nam, too small to make out any details. Yet its presence was undeniable. Nam swallowed hard, trying to stay calm. His voice cracked as he called out, "Hey, who are you?" The shadow didn't respond. It just stood there in silence. A wave of cold rushed through Nam's body. Was it an illusion? He rubbed his eyes and looked again. The figure was still there. This time, it shifted, slightly, bending forward as if to crouch down. From the wooden floor came a faint sound. Clack, clack. Nam stared at the shadowy figure. He couldn't understand what it was doing. Fear gripped him, but curiosity pushed stronger. Step by step, he moved closer, careful not to make a sound. As he drew near, he realized it wasn't a child at all. It was a doll, an old doll, its hair tangled and matted. Its once white dress now faded to yellow. It lay face down on the floor. Nam let out a shaky sigh of relief, the fear from moments ago easing. He bent down and picked it up. Its hair was filthy and knotted. Its porcelain face cracked with a large fracture. Strangely, it didn't look terrifying like the dolls in horror films. Instead, it looked pitiful, abandoned, forgotten long ago. He placed the doll on the chair and turned toward the window. The forest outside was still silent. Pale moonlight streamed through the glass, catching floating specks of dust in the air. A heavy loneliness settled over him. He didn't know how long he had been lost, or if anyone was even looking for him. Nam sat back down on the same chair, his eyes fixed on the doll. Suddenly, he noticed a faint mark on its wooden arm. Using his sleeve, he wiped the grime away. Beneath it, etched into the wood, was a strange symbol, shaped like a leaf with 3 branches. He had never seen anything like it before. Placing the doll on the table, he walked into the kitchen to pour some water. The space was small, old, coated in layers of dust. He found a relatively clean cup, filled it from a jug, and drank deeply. The cold water refreshed him, clearing his foggy mind. Returning to the living room, he picked the doll back up and stared again at the carved symbol. His thoughts drifted to old stories about hidden cults and secret orders. Could this be a sign? The idea sent a shiver crawling across his skin. Then, a sound, soft, from behind him. Nam spun around. The door of an old bookshelf stood slightly ajar. He was certain it had been closed when he first entered. Slowly, cautiously, he stepped forward and pushed it open. Inside, there were no books, only a small wooden box, dark brown and tucked in the corner. He hesitated. He knew better than to pry, but curiosity outweighed fear. Carefully, he lifted the box. It was heavier than expected. He opened the lid. Inside lay an old silver ring and a rolled-up piece of paper. Unfurling the paper, he found a drawing, a map. It outlined the forest trails, and at the center was the very same symbol etched into the doll's arm. Beneath the symbol, a line of writing in some ancient language curled across the page. Nam couldn't read it, but a cold dread seeped from the parchment. He set the paper down and studied the ring. It was carved into the shape of a snake coiling tightly around a flower. The flickering oil lamp light struck it, making the silver glimmer in a way that felt wrong, unnatural. A growing unease coiled inside him. It felt as though invisible strings were pulling him toward something he didn't want to touch. He didn't want to be part of any of this, but deep down, he knew he was already caught in something far darker than just being lost in the woods. Suddenly, the window rattled. Clack, clack. Nam's head snapped up. This time, he saw a white shadow glide past the window. A ghost? Panic surged through him. He stumbled back, crashing into the table. The oil lamp toppled. Its flames sputtered out, and the room was swallowed in darkness. The entire cabin sank into pitch black. A sharp, acrid smell of smoke stung his nose. Startled and frantic, Nam fumbled for his phone. Turning on the flashlight, the weak glow from the screen barely pushed back the shadows, illuminating only a corner of the room. He staggered to his feet, hand brushing across the table. He searched desperately for the lamp, but it was gone. The smell of smoke grew thicker, pressing against his lungs. He knew he had to act. Rushing to the window, he forced it open, trembling hands letting in a blast of icy air. The draft cleared away the acrid stench. He peered outside, only darkness. Only trees. No one was there. Turning back, fear crawled over him again. Was it all just in his head? But the smoke, it was real. He knelt, reaching for where the lamp had fallen. Nothing. It had vanished. All that remained was an oily stain spread across the wooden floorboards. Terror rose like a tide. The phone's beam caught the doll still perched on the chair, its pitiful form unchanged. eyes forever hollow. Nam shifted his gaze to the wooden box. The ring and the map were still there. His mind raced. Who had taken the lamp? And whose laughter had echoed through the cabin? Exhaustion overwhelmed him. Nam sank to the floor, back against the wall, gasping for breath. Helplessness pressed in like a weight. He couldn't stay here another second. He had to leave. He had to escape this cursed forest. Gathering his resolve, he rose, walked to the door, and carefully pushed it open. The night air hit him like ice. The forest lay under a blanket of black, broken only by a pale trace of moonlight. Behind him, the cabin stood in silence, lonely, abandoned, as though it had been empty for decades. He turned away and pressed forward. He walked fast, refusing to look back. His voice cracked the silence as he called out, "Hello? Is anyone there? Anybody?" Only the whisper of wind through pine needles answered, rustling like voices murmuring just beyond hearing. He walked, and walked, and walked, but no road appeared. With each step, the forest seemed endless. The despair of being trapped closed in on him. Then, light, faint, flickering, not from his phone, but from torches. A group of figures in long black robes, hoods covering their faces, emerged through the trees. Each one held a torch, the flames casting monstrous shadows across the trunks. Nam's breath caught. Fear surged. He stumbled backward and crouched low, hiding in a thick bush. They moved in silence, slow, steady. The glow of their torches crawled along the forest floor like veins of fire. As they passed, Nam dared not breathe, his chest tight. The robed figures continued toward the cabin. Nam waited until they disappeared into the house before creeping out of hiding. From the distance, he saw the orange torchlight slip through the cracks of the wooden cabin. His mind spun. Who were they? Why had they come here? A chill seized him. Could this be connected to the strange cult symbol carved into the doll? Despite every instinct screaming at him to flee, Nam followed. He had to know. Hugging the shadows of the trees, he crept closer until he reached a massive trunk that shielded him from sight. Through the gap in the doorway, he saw them. The figures stood in a circle, their torches lifted, faces turned inward, and at the center stood the old woman, the very same one he had met earlier. She held a knife in her hand. On her wrist glowed a dark tattoo, the three-branched leaf symbol. Nam's blood ran cold. He froze, staring in disbelief. The old woman lifted her face, staring straight at Nam. Her eyes remained hollow. A chilling smile crept across her lips as she began muttering something in a language he had never heard before. The others started to shift, widening the circle around her. Nam realized he had been discovered. Terror shot through him. He spun around and ran, his legs pumping as fast as they could. He didn't dare look back, but the sound of footsteps thundered behind him, and the whispers grew louder, closer, chasing him through the dark. He ran, and ran, until his body nearly gave out. His foot caught on a root, and he fell hard to the ground. His phone flew from his hand, the light cutting out. Gasping, he struggled to rise, but his legs trembled, refusing to hold him. Darkness pressed in all around. Then he heard it, breathing. Not his own, someone else's, right in front of him. A pair of bare, thin legs stood inches away. Slowly, he lifted his gaze. The old woman towered over him, her expression blank as ever. She raised her arm, the blade of a knife glinting under the moonlight, lowering it toward him with dreadful slowness. The cold steel hovered close, and Nam could almost feel it against his skin. He pressed back against the trunk of a massive tree. Trapped, nowhere to run. The woman's lifeless eyes never wavered as the knife descended. Nam squeezed his eyes shut, drawing in one deep, final breath. He braced for pain, for the end. But it never came. Instead, he heard a faint sound, the soft clink of metal hitting earth. Opening his eyes, Nam saw the old woman still standing there, her hand outstretched, but the knife was gone. Her gaze lingered on him for a moment before she turned away. The figures in black cloaks had vanished as though they were never there. The forest was once again silent, suffocating in its stillness. The old woman walked back toward the cabin and disappeared into the shadows. Nam exhaled in relief, his chest heaving. but confusion tangled with fear. Why had she stopped? Where had the others gone? He sat there trembling, his mind spinning, until a voice spoke softly behind him. "Nam, are you all right?" He twisted around. A young woman stood there, holding a flashlight. She had long dark hair, a delicate face, but her eyes were heavy with sorrow. She wore a thin sweater, and around her neck hung a necklace bearing the three-branched leaf symbol. Nam's heart jolted. She wasn't one of the robed figures. She looked normal, like an ordinary hiker. His voice shook as he spoke. Who are you?" The girl offered a faint smile. "I'm Nan. I saw you running, so I followed. You're lost, aren't you?" "Yes," Nam replied, his voice still unsteady. "I'm lost in this forest." "And you're here too?" "Yes," Nan said softly, her tone calm, almost distant. "I'm lost as well, but I've been here for a long time." A knot of unease twisted in Nam's gut. His eyes flicked to the necklace, then back to hers. Her eyes, there was no light in them, no trace of life. Nam stepped back, nerves sparking. That creeping dread returned. Do you know the way out?" Nan shook her head. "No, this forest has no way out. It will never let anyone leave." Nam's chest tightened. What do you mean? Are you connected to those people?" Her gaze hardened, her eyes turning cold. "They are the keepers. They protect this place, keep it in balance. And you broke it." I don't understand," Nam stammered. "I'm just lost, that's all." "You touched the ring," Nan whispered, her voice dropping low and heavy. "And you saw the map. You awakened it." Nam's heartbeat thundered. Awakened what? But Nan didn't answer. She only stared at him, eyes empty, soulless. Then, footsteps behind him. Nam spun around. The old woman had returned. And this time, she wasn't alone. Beside her stood a man cloaked in black, his face hidden under a hood. "He has awakened it," the man rasped, his voice deep and coarse. "We must take him back." "Take me back where?" Nam's voice cracked with fear. The old woman pointed at the doll sitting on the chair. "That is where you belong." Nam's stomach dropped. He stumbled backward, tripping and falling hard. Nan stood motionless, her face empty of expression. The hooded man stepped closer, lifting his hand. In his palm gleamed a silver ring, the same one Nam had seen in the box. "Wear it," the man commanded, "and you will be freed." Nam's eyes darted between the ring and Nan. She still stood there, lifeless, hollow. In that instant, he understood. She wasn't alive. She was a spirit, trapped here, bound to the forest. And that ring, it would bind him too. Make him just another soul imprisoned forever. He shook his head violently. "No, I won't wear it." The man didn't argue. He simply grabbed Nam's wrist, forcing his icy grip down hard. Nam fought, thrashing desperately, but the man's strength was inhuman. The cold silver band slid closer, pressing against his skin. "No," Nam choked, voice raw. He looked up, locking eyes with the figure. Beneath the hood, two glowing embers flickered where eyes should be, phantom flames burning with cruel intent. The man forced the ring down, and pain shot through Nam's hand, searing up his arm. His body trembled, his senses numbed, fear eclipsing everything. "Stop!" The cry tore through the night. It was Nan. She had stood silent until now, watching, but her face now twisted with anguish. She stepped forward, her trembling hand clutching the man's shoulder. Don't do this. He's not the one we need." The hooded man turned slowly, his burning eyes narrowing on her. His voice dripped with menace. "He awakened it. He must pay the price." "But he didn't mean to," Nan pleaded, her voice breaking. "He's just lost. Let him go. His very presence has broken the peace of this place." The man said coldly, "Everything must be paid for." Seizing the moment, Nam summoned the last of his strength and shoved the man back. The ring had only slipped halfway onto his finger. But even so, pain like fire tore through his bones. He collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. I don't know anything," Nam pleaded, struggling to crawl up. "I just want to leave this place." Nan's sorrowful eyes shifted between Nam and the hooded man. Then, she spoke, not to them directly, but into the air itself. her voice carrying like a whisper through the trees. "He does not belong here. Let him go." A sudden, icy wind ripped through the forest. Dry leaves crackled. Branches groaned as if the woods themselves were speaking. The hooded man staggered back, pushed by some unseen force. He looked at Nan, then at Nam. The fury in his glowing eyes dimmed, replaced by something that looked almost like regret. "Nan, you promised." Nan bowed her head, silent. The man turned away, dissolving into the darkness. The old woman followed him wordlessly, until both had vanished. The forest sank once again into its suffocating silence. Nam looked at Nan, bewildered and afraid. What just happened? She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped closer, bent down, and picked up his phone. The screen still glowed faintly, but there was no signal. She placed it gently into his hand. "You need to leave, now. This place will never let you rest." "Leave? Where? Do you know the way out?" Nam asked, desperation cracking his voice. Nan shook her head slowly. "I can't help you, but you must go, as fast as you can." "And what about you?" Nam asked softly. His chest tightened with pity for her, this girl, condemned to wander the forest forever. She gave him a faint, sorrowful smile. "I've been here for a long time. This is where I belong." Turning away, she began to walk. "Nan, wait," Nam called, but she didn't look back. Her figure drifted into the trees, swallowed by the darkness until she was gone. Nam stood frozen, the night pressing down around him. Loneliness and despair swept over him again, heavier than ever. He now knew he had stumbled into a world beyond comprehension, a place where he was nothing but an intruder. He looked at the phone in his hand, then at the pathless woods before him. He didn't know where to go, but he knew one thing for certain: he couldn't stay. Step by step, Nam walked forward, into the endless, unknowable dark of the forest. He walked and walked, until at last he saw a faint flicker of light in the distance. It wasn't the glow of a flashlight, it was firelight, the flame of a torch, hiding himself within a thick bush. Nam peered toward it. A man in a black cloak stood there, a torch in his hand, and beside him was a doll. Nam's heart stopped. It was the same doll he had seen inside the wooden cabin. There it stood, motionless, its hollow eyes staring directly at him. Nam held his breath, frozen in place, his heart hammering so loudly he feared it would give him away. The torchlight danced across the cloaked man's face, but Nam's gaze locked on the doll's lifeless eyes. It didn't move, but its empty stare seemed to pierce through the night, straight into him, like it could see every secret he carried. The man tilted his head slightly, as though listening to something unheard. He placed his hand on the doll's head and muttered in a guttural, ancient tongue. The words rasped like wind moaning through cracks in stone, sending a chill crawling over Nam's skin. Then the man turned, walking down the narrow path, leaving the doll behind. The doll remained, unmoving, waiting. Nam didn't emerge until the man had completely vanished. Slowly, cautiously, he stepped from his hiding place and fixed his gaze on the doll. A wave of dread pressed over him. He knew now, it wasn't just a toy. It was a vessel, something unholy. But why was it placed here? Why was it watching him? Then he heard it, a giggle. It came from the doll. So faint, so soft, yet it rang clear in the stillness of the night. Like a silver bell tolling doom. Nam shuddered, stumbling back. He didn't want any part of this. He just wanted out. He turned away and hurried on, quickening his steps, refusing to look back. But the giggling followed him, trailing through the dark like a cruel echo. It wasn't playful. It was mocking, taunting his fear. Nam broke into a run. Branches lashed his face, tore at his arms, but he didn't care. He ran until he stumbled into a different part of the forest. Here, the towering pines were gone. Instead, massive ancient trees rose up, their gnarled trunks warped and skeletal. Branches twisted outward like clawed hands. Their roots tangled across the ground, weaving a snare beneath his feet. The moonlight couldn't break through the thick canopy, smothering the clearing in shadow. An awful dread filled him. The trees loomed, bent into grotesque shapes, their limbs groaning in the wind. It sounded like whispers, soft, mocking, endless. He felt their eyes on him, the forest itself closing in. He forced himself forward, stepping carefully over the roots, fighting the sense of déjà vu creeping through him. He'd been here before, not in waking life, in his dreams. He remembered these warped trees, the suffocating darkness, and in those dreams, something had always chased him. Then, he stumbled into a clearing. At its center stood an old stone well, blanketed in moss. It was bone dry, its mouth yawning wide, black and bottomless. Nam peered down, but saw no end. A freezing breath of air surged up from its depths, brushing icy fingers across his skin. He felt it, that something was down there. Staring back, he staggered away, turning to flee, but froze. A pale figure stood behind him. Nan, her sorrowful face and hollow eyes glowed faintly in the dark. She raised her thin hand, pointing toward the well. "Look, down there," she whispered, her voice as soft as the wind. "That's where it all began." Nam's chest clenched. "No, I don't want to." "Don't be afraid," Nan murmured, her tone deepening, weight pressing on every word. "That's where you belong. You're the one who awakened it." Nam shook his head, stumbling back. "Awakened what?" Nan said nothing at first. Slowly, she stepped closer, her voice low and steady. "You came here because you need this place. You need release." "I don't need anything," Nam shouted, his voice shaking. "I just want to go home." "Your home isn't there," Nan whispered, her hollow eyes fixed on him. "That place holds only loneliness. Here you will find peace." Panic surged through Nam. He spun around and ran, sprinting through the darkness as fast as he could. He didn't dare look back. His lungs burned, his legs trembled, but he kept going, until the forest opened into a clearing. It wasn't twisted trees this time. It was a field of wildflowers. The blossoms spread across the ground in vast carpets of white, glowing faintly in the night. Their thick fragrance filled the air, not sweet, but cloying, suffocating, making Nam's stomach churn. At the center of the field stood a grave, an old stone tomb, weathered and smothered in moss. No name carved on it, only one mark etched into the headstone, the symbol of the three-branched leaf. Nam froze, staring. The symbol pulsed in the moonlight like a seal of fate, a chain binding him to this place. A coldness seeped from inside him, not from the night air but from his very core. Spreading through his veins, he realized everything: the cabin, the doll, the map, the rain had led him here. Every step had been written long before he took it. He was nothing more than a puppet in someone else's script. A breeze swept across the flowers, carrying their scent, but now it was no longer sharp or nauseating. It was sweet, eerily sweet, almost comforting. Nam bent down and touched one of the white blossoms. Its petals were soft, wax-like, gleaming under the moonlight as if dusted with tears of glass. A strange energy pulsed through his fingertips, a fragile piece that made him shiver to his bones. He turned. At the far edge of the glowing field, Nan stood, motionless, her figure pale and still. Her hollow eyes bore into him, unreadable. Nam's throat tightened, his voice rasped as he called out, "Nan, do you know what this is?" Nan didn't answer. She only drifted closer, each step soundless, as though she were gliding above the earth. When she drew near, Nam finally saw it, a deep wound carved into her chest. Dark stains of dried blood spreading across her thin sweater. Nam's breath caught, and he staggered back. "Why you? What happened to you?" Nan smiled faintly, but it was a smile steeped in sorrow. She raised her hand and touched the wound gently. "This is where I died." Her voice was a whisper, almost a confession. "I died here, on a full moon night." You're a ghost?" Nam asked, his voice trembling. She shook her head slowly, her eyes hollow. "I'm not a ghost. I'm a keeper. I remain here, to guard this place." Nam glanced from the wound on her chest to the moss-covered grave. "Was it the cult? Did they kill you?" Nan didn't answer directly. "They are not evil. They are protectors. They want this place untouched, kept in peace, shielded from the outside world. But they tried to kill me," Nam shouted, anger cracking in his throat. She shook her head again. "They didn't want to kill you. They wanted to keep you. They believed you were the one." The one? Nam echoed, confusion tightening his chest. The chosen one, Nan murmured, to awaken the flowers. These flowers, they are the souls of those who died in this forest. Trapped, unable to pass on, they need someone to free them. Nam's eyes swept over the glowing white blossoms. Then back to Nan. Pity pierced him like a knife. And you? Why haven't you moved on? Her voice deepened, heavy with grief. Because I made a promise. A promise, to the one who killed me. I swore I would protect this place. Nam's stomach dropped. Who killed you? Nan met his eyes, and for the first time, a tear slipped down her cheek. It was the man I loved. He was one of the keepers. He believed that only death could bring peace to this forest. So he sacrificed me. Nam froze, unable to breathe. The weight of her words crushed him. A tragic love, twisted by duty, sealed in blood. He saw the endless sorrow etched in her hollow gaze. He felt it, the kinship of two lost souls, both searching for meaning in lives shrouded in loneliness. Then, ring, ring, ring. The shrill sound shattered the silence. Nam jerked, fumbling for his phone, his alarm. 4 a.m. He had been trapped in this forest for nearly an entire day. He looked down at the glowing screen, then back at Nan. She still stood there, wound-seeping darkness, her empty eyes fixed on him. I had to go, Nam whispered. Nan shook her head slowly. You can't leave. You touched the flowers. You awakened them. You're trapped. No, Nam said, his voice trembling. I don't believe that. He turned his back on her and walked quickly, refusing to look behind. Yet he could hear her footsteps following, light, steady, almost floating. He walked and walked until at last he saw it. A flicker of light in the distance. His homestay. Relief surged through him, and he ran, sprinting toward the glow. As he reached the edge of the clearing, he turned back. Nan stood at the forest's edge, watching him silently. She no longer followed. You found the way out. Her voice drifted, soft as a breeze. Go. Nam looked at her, then at the path ahead. Doubt gnawed at him, but he forced himself forward. He followed the trail until, finally, he reached the homestay. Inside, everything was just as he had left it. The bed neatly made, his suitcase waiting. He dropped onto the mattress, lungs burning, his whole body trembling. Through the window, the forest loomed, dark, endless, indifferent. Relief mingled with emptiness, leaving him hollow. Had it all been real? Or was it some fevered dream? He picked up his phone. A message from his mother blinked on the screen, asking if he was okay. His fingers shook as he typed a reply. He didn't know if he was still the same Nam anymore. Then, clack, clack. Nam froze. He turned. On the table sat a small wooden box. Old, dark brown, heavy. The very same box he had seen in the cabin. The one that held the ring and the map. It hadn't been there when he entered. A chill surged down his spine. The box had followed him. Somehow. He stepped closer, heart pounding. The box looked exactly as he remembered, aged wood, weighty with secrets. Hesitantly, he stretched out his hand. The moment his fingers brushed it, an icy sting shot through him, like a spectral greeting. Slowly, he lifted the lid. Inside lay the silver ring and the folded piece of paper. Just as before, the ring shimmered under the room's light, its carved snake coiling around a delicate flower. The map rested beside it, silent, waiting. Nam dared not touch the ring. He only stared at it, fear and fascination twisting together inside him. If he had never gotten lost, would the box still have found him? Was it destiny that had led him into the forest? A truth far bigger than coincidence? He snapped the lid shut, shoved the box into his suitcase, and tried to push it all out of his mind. Stripping off his clothes, he showered, then lay down on the bed. He tried to sleep, but the forest clung to him, haunting his thoughts. The old woman's hollow eyes, Nan's sorrow, the glowing white flowers. And when sleep finally claimed him, the forest returned. He dreamed of the stone grave again. But this time, he wasn't alone. Nan stood beside him, dressed in a flowing white gown, her face no longer sorrowful. She was smiling, gently, kindly. You awakened them, she said, her voice no longer a whisper. but clear and ringing, almost musical. "But you have not freed them." I don't understand," Nam whispered. "Free them? How?" Nan raised her hand and touched the old stone grave. Instantly, a radiant white light burst forth from the tomb. The wildflowers surrounding it lifted into the air, glowing like tiny orbs, swirling upward in a graceful dance. They spun around Nam, forming a shimmering circle of light. "You touched them," Nan's voice echoed softly. "Their souls have awakened. Now, you must guide them home." "Home? Where is their home?" Nam asked, his chest tightening. Nan didn't answer. She only smiled gently. And then her form dissolved, splintering into 1,000 glowing motes that joined the circle of drifting light. Around him, the air vibrated with quiet energy. From within the brightness, a path slowly revealed itself, an illuminated trail, stretching forward into the unknown. Nam jolted awake, drenched in sweat, his back stuck to his shirt, his breath shallow. The clock read 7 a.m. Sunlight poured into the room, cutting across the curtains. Outside, the forest lay bathed in morning light, and yet, he still felt the chill. His eyes fell to the suitcase. The dread returned, crawling up his spine. He opened it. The wooden box was still there, waiting. Nam stared, heart pounding. He couldn't keep living with questions that gnawed at him, with shadows whispering at the edges of his sanity. He had to know. He lifted the box out, set it on the table, and opened it. The silver ring shimmered in the daylight. The paper map folded neatly beside it. Nam stared at them both, then clenched his jaw. He would follow the map. It was reckless, dangerous, perhaps madness, but he had no other choice. His life had already changed. Something bound him to this place, to the forest and its restless souls. Nam stood at the door of the homestay, breathing in the crisp daylight mist. He looked back once at the quiet room, then down at the suitcase where the wooden box rested. He knew he could never go back to his old life. An invisible thread had tied him here, and it would never let go. Drawing in a long, steady breath, he closed the suitcase and stepped outside. He followed the familiar trail, but this time his steps were different. Not aimless, purposeful. He no longer trembled. The forest loomed as always, dark, mysterious, but to him, it no longer felt like an enemy. It was an old companion, whispering truths of the past. Through the towering ancient trees he walked, past the twisted roots, until he reached the old stone well. It gaped deep and empty, its cold breath rising to greet him. Nam lingered, sorrow twisting in his chest. He knew the souls were trapped here, bound, waiting. And then, farther still, the wildflower field appeared. The blossoms glowed faintly white, their fragrance drifting on the wind. At its center, the moss-covered grave awaited. The three-branched leaf symbol etched upon its stone gleamed like a silent command. Nam approached. His hand slipped into his pocket and pulled free the ring. The silver glinted under the pale light, the carved snake coiling endlessly around the flower. He held it tightly, heart quivering. His voice broke as he spoke into the stillness. I don't know who you are, but I know you're here. I don't know if I can free you, but I will try." He closed his eyes. The dreams came rushing back, the glowing paths of light, the voices that had whispered to him in the dark. From the ring on his finger, a surge of energy pulsed into him, strong, yet calming, as though it carried the weight of 1,000 lives. He felt them, their sorrow, their despair, their fragile hope. When Nam opened his eyes, the ring glowed with a soft green light. Its glow spread outward, washing over the moss-covered grave. The ground trembled, stones crumbling away as a brilliant white beam shot upward from beneath the earth. From it, countless tiny orbs of light rose, drifting into the air like fireflies unfurling into the night. They circled him, spiraling higher and higher, weaving a halo of light. Nam's eyes blurred with tears. These weren't just orbs, they were souls. Freed at last. For the first time, he felt peace that was not only his own, but shared with them. And within the circle of light, he saw her. Nan. Her smile was radiant now, free of sorrow, full of warmth. She lifted her hand in farewell. Nam smiled back, raising his own hand, his heart swelling. Slowly, gently, She dissolved into 1,000 glowing fragments, merging with the others, becoming one with a rising constellation of souls. The circle of light drifted upward, lifting toward the heavens like a great luminous train carrying the lost back home. Nam watched until they became only faint specks against the star-swept sky. When the last light vanished, the forest grew still again, but this time, the silence was no longer suffocating. It was serene. The white wildflowers still glowed, but their light had changed, no longer eerie, but tender, like candles burning in prayer. Nam sank down beside the grave, his back against the cold stone. Exhaustion pressed into his bones, yet his chest felt light. Unburdened, he gazed up at the sky, where the stars shimmered quietly above. He knew then that he was no longer the same man who had first stepped into this forest. He had changed. He had found meaning. Perhaps he would never find the way out. Perhaps he would remain here, forever bound to this place. But the thought no longer terrified him. Even if he were trapped, he would not be alone. He would become the forest's protector, a keeper of the souls who lingered here. A life of solitude had transformed into a life of purpose. Nam lay back against the earth, eyes on the glittering sky, and smiled. The first rays of dawn pierced through the canopy, painting golden streaks across the damp forest floor. Nam sat on the wooden steps of the old cabin, his cabin now, its once decayed walls tidied and mended. The broken oil lamp replaced with a simple solar light. It lacked the eerie flicker of flame, but it brought comfort through the long nights. His life was no longer the gray routine of Saigon. The stiff office clothes were gone. In their place hung a frayed sweater and faded jeans. Easy and unpretentious. His hair had grown longer, untrimmed, but he didn't mind. His face bore faint lines at the corners of his eyes. Yet those eyes glowed with peace, serenity earned through darkness. He breathed deeply, drawing in the resinous scent of pine, damp soil, and the faint perfume of wildflowers. This was the fragrance of the forest, his home. After that night, after seeing the souls rise to the heavens and Nan's final, gentle smile, there had been no question. Saigon no longer called to him. The forest held him now. Nam had used what little savings he had to claim the cabin. It seemed to belong to no one, abandoned, forgotten, as though waiting for him. The keepers had not returned. Perhaps their duty ended when the souls were freed. Perhaps they too had found peace in their own way. His days unfolded slowly, without haste. He wandered the trails not as a lost man but as one who belonged. He tended the glowing flowers with care, as though honoring the souls still lingering. He studied plants, explored hidden paths, and even discovered caves etched with ancient carvings, markings of the same three-branched leaf. They spoke of the forest's origins, of the lives that had once been bound here. On nights of the full moon, he sat beside the old stone well. Its bottomless maw no longer terrified him. Instead, he felt its presence as a bridge, a thread still binding him to Nan and those who had departed. He closed his eyes, listening to the wind whisper through the trees, feeling them near though unseen. From time to time, he reached out to the outside world. There was a spot at the forest's edge where his phone caught a signal. He called his mother, assuring her he was fine, that he was resting long-term in Dalat. He never spoke of the truth. Who would believe? Colleagues messaged now and then, and he replied with vague mentions of seeking new inspiration. They couldn't understand. He didn't want them to. His life had slipped beyond the bounds of their world. Then, one late afternoon, as he read beneath the shade of the great ancient tree, a sound fractured the silence. An engine. The low growl of a car echoed faintly through the stillness. Alien in its intrusion, Nam stiffened, closing his book, his heart quickening. He rose to his feet and turned toward the forest path. For the first time in a long time, someone was coming. A stranger was venturing into the heart of his sanctuary. And the forest, once again, was about to change. Nam saw it clearly now, a silver SUV, polished and gleaming, creeping along the path until it stopped at the forest's edge. From inside stepped a young couple. The man was stylish, sunglasses perched on his face, a leather jacket slung across his shoulders. The woman wore a flowing maxi dress and a wide-brimmed hat. Graceful and modern, her long hair catching the light. They looked like tourists, young adventurers chasing the thrill of the unknown. Nam stayed where he was, watching quietly. The man raised his phone and began snapping photo after photo. The woman spun slowly, gazing at the tall pines, her laughter ringing through the still air. "Look at this place, it's gorgeous," she exclaimed, pointing toward the endless trees. The man nodded. "Yeah, stunning. I read online there's supposed to be some hidden trail here, leading to an ancient village. Want to try?" Her eyes lit with excitement, though a shadow of unease flickered. "An ancient village? That sounds incredible, but it feels a little too empty here." He slipped an arm around her shoulder, pulling her close. "Relax, I'm here. Didn't you say you wanted adventure?" They laughed, their voices full of life, and wandered off along a narrow path. Hand in hand, Nam's chest tightened as he watched them vanish into the forest's embrace. It was like staring into a mirror of his past, his own naive curiosity, his reckless confidence when he had first stepped into this place. He wanted to shout, to warn them, but the words caught in his throat. Something unseen pressed against him, a force of silence that told him it would change nothing. The forest had its laws. Every soul who entered had their fate. He turned away, retreating into his cabin. From the window, he saw them fade, swallowed by the pines. Nam sat down, the old wooden chair creaking under his weight, and clutched the familiar wooden box. The silver ring inside seemed heavier tonight. He could still hear their laughter in the air, but beneath it, he sensed the shift, the awakening. Night crept quickly. Shadows stretched tall across the forest, and the air cooled with a strange breath. He felt it against his face at the window, not mere wind, but a presence. The wildflowers at the base of the trees flickered faintly white, glowing like restless eyes. Nam busied himself, cooking a simple meal, reading a few pages of an old book, listening to the forest's nocturnal songs. Yet his mind was restless, circling back to the couple. Were they safe? Or had the cycle already begun for them? Then, at around 9, his blood froze. A scream, a woman's voice, high and raw, echoing through the night. Nam bolted upright, heart hammering. He knew it had begun. He grabbed his flashlight, snatched the small axe leaning against the wall, and flung open the door. The forest greeted him with a suffocating darkness. Every tree twisted, every shadow alive. Leaves whispered like voices as he pushed forward, sprinting down the same trail the couple had taken. Branches snapped, footsteps pounded, labored breaths cut through the night. Somewhere ahead, the terror had already taken shape. Nam stepped into the clearing and froze. The young man lay sprawled on the ground, unconscious. The girl knelt beside him, trembling, her face pale, eyes wide with terror. "Please." He fainted, she cried when she saw Nam, her voice breaking with desperation. "Can you help us?" Nam hurried closer, crouching to check the man. He wasn't hurt, no wounds, only shock, the kind that could break the mind if pushed too far. Nam looked up at the girl, his voice low and steady. "What happened?" She stammered. We got lost." Then suddenly he saw a white figure. It ran past. He panicked, stumbled, and fainted. Nam's gaze swept the trees. Nothing stirred, no figure in white, but he knew it was here, playing games, just as it once had with him. The girl's voice quivered. "Is this place haunted?" "I heard laughter, a child's laughter." Nam looked into her frightened eyes. He remembered Nan's words. He couldn't lie. "This forest holds souls that are trapped," he said quietly. "They're not evil. They only want release." "Trapped souls?" she whispered, confusion and fear mingling in her gaze. He nodded. "You're here for a reason, just as I was." Then his eyes fell to the silver necklace around her throat. It was simple, delicate, yet etched on its pendant was a mark that made his blood run cold. The three-branched leaf. Nam's breath caught. He hadn't expected to see it again. The girl touched the pendant unconsciously. It belonged to my mother. She said it's been in our family for generations." And then Nam understood. Destiny's loop had returned. The necklace wasn't merely an heirloom, it was a summons. A tether to the forest. This girl, like him, had been chosen. "What do we do now?" she asked, her voice breaking with dread. Nam glanced at the unconscious young man, then back at her. He couldn't let them be swallowed by the forest as he had nearly been. He had to help them find the truth, to finish what still lingered unfinished. "We go back to my cabin," Nam said firmly. "There, we'll find answers." He hoisted the man up, slinging an arm over his own shoulders. The girl hesitated, then nodded, her trust in him plain. Together, the three of them started down the path, the silence of the forest pressing close. Nam's flashlight cut through the dark, but still the glowing wildflowers shimmered faintly along the edges of the trail, watching. Waiting. A new journey had begun. One of secrets, of spirits yet unfreed. But this time, Nam was not alone. The story ends here. Thank you so much for listening until this moment. If you enjoyed it, please give me a like and a subscription. That's a huge motivation for us to continue creating more thrilling ghost stories for you. If you have any questions or feedback about the story, feel free to leave a comment below. Thank you once again, and see you in the next story. Darkness in the Night.